Yo, what's up everyone? Bill here for Classic Rock and Metal Review. Kiss Alive, Largo, 1975. That's our silver press DVD we're going to be reviewing today. You know you'll love it. Get into it in a second. I'd like to thank everyone. We have 1,250 subscribers. That's freaking awesome. And I'm giving away some stuff as a way of saying thanks. And it's been piling up anyway. I've had it for months. So just got started. Judas Priest. All right, Visual Metallurgy. Already posted the video. You want a shot at it, giving it away, it's free shipping. Go to that video and just put a comment in there. Putting a comment under that video enters you into getting a chance to win that double silver press DVD. All right, so enough of that. Let's get on to Kiss Alive. Been telling you about it for a little while. Pretty unique video, you know, in a couple of different ways. And that's pretty much what I try to focus on, man. This stuff just sort of comes to me in a lot of ways. The stuff that I choose to review, I put stuff on, listen to it, watch it, and it just jumps out and stands out to me. And that's what, like I said, these things sort of select themselves. I don't really have a list of things I want to do. It's just my casual listening and view and just sort of weeds out the average run-of-the-mill from the unique. So I choose to focus on the stuff that is a little unique, all right? No label on this guy, if I haven't already mentioned. It's silver press DVD. I'll give you a close look at the packaging and all at the end of the video. I'll be showing it to you throughout anyway, but there's your DVD. I'll show you behind it and all later. Let's get to talking about this concert. It's a pro shot, in-house recording, as many of these shows from Largo, Landover, Maryland, I guess, came from. 70s, even into the early 80s. Color and 80 minutes long. No extras on this guy. And it has in the listing down bottom that it's all regions and NTSC format. So there's some of the specs. Capitol Center, Largo, Maryland. Sunday, November 30th, 1975. The Alive tour, the Alive album came out in September 10th, specifically of 75. I think that was also the first date of the tour. So we're roughly a third of the way through the tour here, November 30th. It would run until March 28th of 76. And really, basically, the band pretty much just kept touring. It just became the Destroyer tour at that point. Arguably, Kiss at their peak here. And who's arguing that? Me, all right? And I'm admittedly not like some Kiss fanatic, maniac fanatic who knows what the popular opinion is of Kiss. This is just my opinion based on grabbing some bootlegs the last few years. Kind of got bootlegs from almost every year. 73, 77, 79, 80. I don't have anything from 76, but I do have all three Kissologies, so I've seen my share of rough, raw Kiss. Let's put it that way. I just think that 75 has some magic. They're tight as can be from those 3 years of jamming. And you know, I think they haven't lost the energy yet that would start to wane a little bit by, let's say, 77. So 75 for me is where it's at. Grabbed that Tulsa 1975 bootleg last year. It was one of my favorites of the year. You know, and basically Kiss in general, I don't think a lot of us will agree that, you know, a visual band, you know, a live band. Records are good. Seeing them live, listening to them live, that's where it's at. And mentioned all those different bootleg concerts I've been picking up. Also got a couple different shows from the Creatures of the Night tour, or one and one on the way. So to me, still 75 is where it's at. Tulsa 75 is awesome. Combo of being tight and still having that early energy. That's, you know, I guess you could argue 73, 74 probably, and maybe 76. It's all in the same range, all in the same ballpark. I don't really like having, if I have my way, I choose the 75 set list, you know. There's no Beth in there to think about. A couple of the songs from Destroyer, they're good. I just don't love them as much as some of the things that would have to leave the set list from this era to accommodate the Destroyer material. So, you know. Now, what you can't argue about on this performance here, Peter Criss sounds great. I don't think he's ever sounded better. Now, we'll get into why as we get in the set list of this, you know, this show. But, man, it's just, he gives a great performance. The band's good, really good. I think Gene's performance is awesome. I think Peter is the best performance on here. I don't think I've ever said that about him before, other than that Amityville 73 review I did. He was kind of taking over the show a little bit, but only towards the end. Here, it kind of starts earlier on, you know. So let's get into the specs of Kiss Alive Largo 75 DVD. This probably came out, I don't know, 6 months ago, end of last summer, fall, somewhere in that area. The video opens with the main menu with song select. That's pretty standard for these things. Like I mentioned, no extras, so that's your two options. Play all or choose your song. So when you hit play all, you get immediately up on the screen, and this is part of the in-house feed from that night. It says Kiss plus Styx plus Mott, as in Mott the Hoople. And show gets going with the awesome 1-2 punch of Deuce and Strutter. Standard set list for this era. And solid, energetic 75 Kiss here. All the reasons why I love that Tulsa 75 CD. You're watching it on screen now, you know. Awesome. Picture quality. It is excellent. I have to tell you, man, this kind of surprised me how good this was. I bought this sight unseen. I don't know, I saw a pro shot in 75 and I just bought it. So I don't really preview a lot of the stuff I buy, I guess. And luckily for this one, I would say it's a solid 8 out of 10. And that's with Blu-ray being a 10. For an in-house feed concert that's almost 50 years old, it's pretty impressive, all right? It's probably an 8.5 in a lot of spots. It's sharp, doesn't bounce, there's no real flubs, a handful of minor ones, but not really many. But overall, I'll go with an 8 because there are some spots where you get those vertical lines that, you know, drift up and down the screen. But even not a lot of that either, really. Most of this video is clean and sharp as far as the picture goes. Multicam. If I had to guess, I'd say there's 4 to 6 cameras involved in recording this show. Mostly from the sides of the stage. And one from the back, but even that one just tends to be pointed towards the guys. So it's not a whole lot different than the side of the stage front shots. Effects. You know, even a couple songs in, you're getting bombarded with video effects. This is what I was talking about with this video being kind of unique. Pretty much the most I've ever seen on any concert video ever. Now all this stuff is embedded in the original, you know, feed, I guess. I mean, I'm sure there's raw feed out there somewhere, but this must have been what was being shown around the arena, which is typical of what makes it the bootleg land. And like I said, easily the most effects I've ever saw in a video. Lots of overlaid still frame shots of the band, images from the band that you can kind of see through and see around. Sometimes they're flashing where they're solid, you know, and then they're see-through. Maybe like the Kiss logo, for example. And they change color, they swirl, they leave trails. I mean, I'll tell you, it's everything. Album covers, faces of the band members, which tells you one thing too, that the film crew really came prepared, you know, to this gig with these images ready to go, you know, ready to embellish the live concert with all these different effects, and really had a lot of things at their arsenal, you know. I mean, it's just a countless number of different Kiss effects. It's not like you see the same handful over and over. It just never really stops. It looks like they also took some images from the show itself, and then would later on in the show use them as the images overlaid with those pastels and things. It's a pretty trippy experience, and I'll tell you, honestly, at first, I kind of thought it was a little too much. A couple songs in, I loved it. Like, wow, this is really interesting and cool. By like the 3rd or 4th song, I'm starting to get a little annoyed. It's like I'm trying to watch this concert through all these different special effects, and it's a little bit of a struggle to actually watch the show itself at points, you know. And then I guess maybe like after 4 songs, let's say, kind of just raise the white flag and say, you know what, I'm in for a special effects, you know, tribute here to Kiss. And you start to embrace it, I guess is what happens. And you just sort of realize this is what you're in for, and you're either going to like it or just be annoyed by it. And just choose to like it and go with it. And, you know, grab some extracurriculars for this show, I'm telling you, because I didn't. And I still really liked it from here on. But there was a couple songs there where I was kind of like, wow, this is a bit overdone, you know. So Come On and Love Me is 3rd. This was a single about 6 months earlier. It still sounds really good. I think the Tulsa performance earlier in the year kind of nailed it for me. This version's really good though. Hotter Than Hell, man, we're just throwing some fuel on the fire now. Things are getting cooking, solid and tight. The first 2 songs are great, and these 2 songs I think are even better. you know, but they're all just right in the same ballpark of being awesome. Two great songs, two great performances here. The sound, I haven't really talked about the sound yet. Very good soundboard quality. It's a bit uneven though. Gene's bass is louder than both guitars, and louder than both combined. The drums are about where they should be level-wise. You get a little bit of a heavy sizzle from the hi-hat, you know, here overall, but it's not horrible. Luckily, Ace's guitar is louder than Paul's. Paul's can be almost unheard, really. It's really kind of low. And all solos are heard really clearly by Ace, which is great. And despite the bass being louder, the solos seem to be louder than the bass, so at least that's good. Paul's vocals are a little low throughout the show, but no big deal. The sound's not a big deal here overall, but it does have its fluctuations for sure. All right, sixth song in is Firehouse, actually fifth song. Intro counts as title number 1. Firehouse, this is where things really start to get interesting, and I'm not talking about the sirens and smoke. Criss starts playing like a man possessed at this point. It kind of starts at Ace's solo here in Firehouse, where Ace is doing that. Peter's matching him with riffs on the snare, and it just sounds really cool. You can tell he's going all out to do it. Pretty ironic though, in my case anyway, because recently, not too long ago, like a week or two ago, this random video about Peter Criss's snare work came up on my feed on YouTube. I ended up watching it. It was like a 6 or 8 minute thing, maybe not even. Just talking about how his snare work in Detroit Rock City, how they broke down the middle section, you know, where the sort of breakdown is with the guitar and all that stuff, where most drummers would just like let the stick sort of ricochet off the snare, pointing out that Peter's actually hitting 2 snare hits every time. And you know, that it's not a complicated thing to do, but that being able to do that the whole song really takes a lot. And you know, it's coincidentally, I was in work like the very next morning after watching that video, and a drummer I work with brought up Peter Criss, you know, and I don't know why, I never heard him talk about Kiss before. It's all just kind of weird how all this stuff happened within a couple days. But he's matching Peter's solo, or Ace's solo in Firehouse, and then starts to rip off all these licks and rolls for the rest of that song. It's just like non-stop, furious. I mean, energetic doesn't describe it. Like I said, he's like a drummer possessed, you know. We all know he's no, you know, Neil Peart on drums. But I think we forget, you know, or some of us can forget how great he was in the early years. You know, started to lose it towards the end. No secret there. But man, he is just taking literally every opportunity to throw in a riff, a roll, you know, and sort of a mini solo wherever he can. And I tell you, it's pretty crazy. You think it's maybe just going to be that one song, but he keeps it going for a few more songs. It's really pretty awesome. Next up is She. This is a favorite on here for me. Firehouse was, and so is She. Unique, sort of diabolical sounding version here. Gene, his vocals are steeped in such extreme echo. I mean, it's almost like, I don't know if this was what the crowd was hearing, or this is just a soundboard version for recording. It's almost like overdone, but you know what? It's not really, because it's one of these things, kind of like this entire video itself. How I was telling you that when you're a couple songs in, you're almost like, wow, this is going to be too much effects. You think that way for this for a few seconds, and then you're like, you know what? I've never heard a version of She with this much echo on it. Really kind of sounds pretty cool and interesting and totally different, you know? Really like you ever watch an old school horror movie where they show you like a nightmare scene and there's voices that are just echoing during the nightmare? That's kind of what this reminds me of. They have this cool like green spotlight on Gene's face. Kiss logo with effects is kind of swirling at you and swirling away from you with all these sort of trippy drag behind it. It's just really awesome. I love when you get a bootleg and it's just completely one-of-a-kind experience, you know, like this is. One-of-a-kind version of a song like She is here. It's definitely a fave so far. We finally start to get a few crowd shots in there. I don't think there were any up until right about this point in the video. Previously, they were only visible in front of the band from those side shots, a couple rows. Now, some crowd-only shots, albeit also the front of the house, but now you get to see about 15 or 20 rows. And, you know, they're packed in like sardines, man. Those good old dance concert days. Overall, could have used some more crowd shots. And only a handful, and only of the front of the house, nothing of the full venue. But at least we get some, because it's always frustrating when you never get any crowd shots in a concert video, at least for me. Ace's solo is next. It's a blistering one. He's got a filthy guitar tone on here. It's perfect. And as I mentioned earlier, they turn him up for the solo. That sounds incredible. It goes into Ladies in Waiting, which I guess would be the rarest song here, which is solid. Pete playing a little more basic at this point after going nuts on Firehouse and She, but still a really good version. And this song would be, this was standard for the set list at the time, Ladies in Waiting. Looks like by Detroit Cobo Hall, playing multiple nights. Ladies in Waiting on one night, 25th, 26th. They would switch it out for Parasite, which is awesome. I would take Parasite over this, of course, but we get Ladies in Waiting, and it's a good version. Probably the most popular so far, though. Right into Nothing to Lose, solid once again. Pete's on vocals. And for all this talk I'm doing about Peter's performance, you don't even really see him that much. It doesn't really get many close-up shots, unfortunately. So that just also goes to show you how powerful his performance is. This is all just from what you're hearing, not even from what you're seeing. The bass solo's next. Gene gives us a nice long look into the camera during this one, which is really kind of cool. Into 100,000 Years, you get another of the extreme echo on the vocals. So this time it's to Paul's vocals for 100,000 Years, which of course are accompanied by more crazy camera edits and pastel color overlaid images of the band. Into the drum solo, and Peter Criss, he kills it. You finally get some close-ups of him now that he's the only one on the stage. Man, his hands are just non-stop. As fast as they can possibly move, basically. And for so long, it's just kind of mind-blowing. Now, he's not doing any kind of fancy rolls all over every drum in the kit. We all know what his drum solos are, right? He's just hammering away, you know. But it's so energetic and fast. It's almost like, how does he do this for 5 straight minutes? You get that sort of Bonham-esque Cashmere live effects that they used to put, that swirling, almost steel drum sound effect. Same thing was on the Tulsa 75 CD of Kiss, and that's present here, so it's kind of cool seeing it live now, what I heard on the Tulsa bootleg CD. Paul returns to rile the crowd, and some pyro starts going off, but you know, it's kind of, you can't really hear what Paul's saying. So I guess the crowd I can kind of hear them roaring, but it's just the drum solo up in the mix, even though Paul's walking around on stage with a microphone. Crowd seems to hear, though, like I said, so you hear them kind of responding to Paul, but we can't really make much of that stuff out. Black Diamond, another solid version. You get some of those drifting horizontal lines here, but they're not a big deal, not as bad as I've seen in a lot of other videos. Cold Gin is also awesome. A couple more favorites from this one. Rock and Roll All Night. Ace's guitar is really loud on this one. It's almost like they left it up to his solo volume level, and it makes it the heaviest version of Rock and Roll All Night I ever heard, because it's just raw, pretty just like kind of distorted guitar, you know, not just loud rock guitar. It's kind of like metal. It's like the heaviest Rock and Roll All Night. So kind of sick of that tune, but this is at least a little bit of a unique version of it here and how it sounds. And Let Me Go, Rock and Roll, taking us out. Final word on this one, really good, excellent quality picture, tons of effects by those in-house guys. They were going off on this show. The sound, a few limitations in the mix and the blend of volumes, I guess, but overall really good. Nothing to worry about there. Typical high energy prime era Kiss for me. 75 is where it's at. Good shows by Paul and Ace. Really good show by Gene. Excellent show by Peter. I mean, there's a couple of spots in here where I'm almost surprised that Paul doesn't turn around and say, "Yo, this is awesome," but maybe tone it down a little bit. He's just so enthusiastic and just driving the whole show here. You know, he just can't be stopped and doesn't miss a chance to throw in a roll in a lot of these songs. So really kind of a great performance by Peter Criss here. My favorites were She, with all that echo, and Firehouse was pretty awesome. Ace's solo, his sound is nasty on the solo. Also on Rock and Roll All Night, it's really kind of heavy. Peter's solo is a standout, believe it or not, a drum solo. as a standout for a change. Ladies in Waiting just being the rarest thing here. And the opening salvo of Deuce and Strutter, you know, not bad. Come On and Love Me. I mean, really, most of this show is my favorite song, so that says a lot. Kiss Alive Largo, November 30th, 1975. No label. This is supposed to be an upgrade versus a Shades title that came out, I think, right before this, called Detroit and Largo 75. So, and purported to be sharper images. Now, I haven't seen the Shades version, so I don't own that title. I can't compare it, but you know, the sharpness of the picture here really surprised me. So that seems to be a pretty valid claim about this title. You know, this is one of 10 known complete shows on video from Kiss between 75 and 77. Most of them on the Kissology series, you know. So a lot of these standalones of Kiss that come out, they're just, you know, other versions of what we already have. So I don't go for them, man. I don't have the money to buy everything. So try to pick those ones that we didn't get yet from the band. This is one of them. So unique title for a handful of reasons I just outlined for you. This costs about $25, $30. Pretty much a must-have, I think. All right, search this exact title if you're interested in this. Kiss Alive Largo 1975 DVD. There's no label to attach to your search, so you just got to search that. And this one came with limited numbered sticker. It was already on this case when I bought it. Number 159 it appears to be. You've seen the front and back covers a ton of times. There it is again. We open up inside too. I already showed you earlier. Nice wide shot of the band on stage. I'm looking to see if this could be from the actual gig. Really hard to tell. Same stage setup, I'm sure, everywhere. Yeah, it's kind of awesome. Back cover you've already seen. There's another look. And the disc itself, the DVD itself, is awesome. Guys, that'll do it for now. Next up on Classic Rock and Metal Review, we're going to hit up some Anthrax, Fistful of Metal. Love You Long Time? Let's see what's up with that one. I love that back in the day. We're going to target it at an 8.5, all right? It used to be an 8 or 9 back in the day. We'll slice it down the middle. See if it's an 8.5 that I recalled it being 30 plus years ago. Coming up on 40. Crazy. Guys, I'll catch you all later. Everyone have a great friggin' day.